Welcome to Red Light, Green Light, the podcast where seasoned leaders and top-tier executives in science, tech, pharma, finance, and innovation open up and get real with me and with you. You'll hear personal stories from key moments of their career arcs and how they've struggled and succeeded when it comes to moving audiences from the red light of risk to the green light of go. I'm Cindy Skalicky, storytelling strategist and author of the best-selling book, Red Light, Green Light, How Top Leaders Present with Polish, Get Buy-in, and Become More Influential. On this podcast, you'll hear from an exceptional invite-only lineup of leaders who've been in the room and at the table when stakes were high, decisions were hard, and their stories had to land. This is where expert minds share stories that shape the future. What's more, you'll walk away with tips you can try immediately to drive the vision of innovation with your team. Hi, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to another episode of Red Light, Green Light, where we welcome leaders from all kinds of different industries to come in and share their stories with us from long ago, from recent situations they've been in, but we want to bring in people that'll help you understand some of the bumps, bruises, and successes of building strategic stories. And today I'm so pleased to welcome Kymberli Speight. Kymberli, did I say that correctly?
You absolutely did. You got it. You nailed it.
That is so lucky. Fantastic. Kymberli is an Air Force veteran, everybody. She's also a keynote speaker and a CEO who equips other senior leaders so they can build authentic relationships that drive results. Kymberli and I met during the pandemic, I'm pretty sure. We crossed paths and we have been in each other's orbit ever since. And she's just fantastic when it comes to her energy and the things that she's developed over the years. She has over a decade of speaking experience, does executive offsites and onsites and intensives. She's the author of I Need to Know You and another book that's just recently launched called Compassionate Success, where she outlines her signature framework for building trust-based influence in high performance environments. Kymberli, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you, Cindy. I am so glad to be here with you. I'm excited about our conversation.
I am too. I am too. I'm going to start us off right away with the first book, because it's such a cool premise. Will you share with our audience what got you going around the book you first wrote called I Need to Know You? And listeners, listen up. This is so cool.
Oh, my goodness. So, as you know, Cindy, I have been doing a lot of work with senior military leaders
Yeah.
transitioning out of the military into the civilian world.
Right.
And I teach a 4-day seminar with them. And towards the end of the seminar, I realized that they understood how important it was to build relationships and how that would help them get to that next great opportunity on the civilian world. But they were really struggling with, well, how do I do that?
Yeah.
And, my takeaway was, they've been building relationships their entire career because they wouldn't be in the course that I teach if they hadn't. They wouldn't be a success because we need others, right, in order to be successful.
Sure.
But they had had 20 to 30 years to do it. So
Mm-hmm.
I started teaching, I started studying first,
Okay.
building relationships and just diving deep into that. And then I started teaching them a couple of hours on practical steps to networking. So we call it networking, but it's really about building relationships.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so I was teaching it, and then I thought, this is like from theory. Why don't I take up a challenge and meet people? And so I took up the challenge that you're aware of to meet 100
Yeah.
people in 100 days. I'm not advocating that people do that, to meet 100 days, but it was an amazing experience. I got so much more out of it that I ever imagined, that I ever anticipated. My life was
Oh,
so enriched by that experience. And I did it so I could, say, "This is practical application. I'm not just teaching you theory. This is
Yes.
what
Yes.
works."
Oh my
Mm.
gosh.
Yeah, and so that's how that book got started because it's actually the stories of the generous
Yes.
people that shared
Yes.
with me.
Oh, it's so, like, exhilarating to even think about what it would be like to try to do that, right? It's like, could I even do that? Because you weren't sure how you would like it, right? When you kinda got started, it was sort of it had to feel a little bit daunting, or, like, did you feel like your energy would be zapped eventually? What was sort of happening at the beginning of that, and how'd you get over the hurdle?
So it was a little bit intimidating to think about it, right? So I started posting the stories on Facebook because I was going to keep myself accountable because it's like, well,
Sure.
I can do
Yeah,
one,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
But I think here's the thing, Cindy, when your why is big enough, the facts don't matter.
Mm.
And to
Ooh,
me, the
I like
why was yeah, the why was I wanted to be able to help people do this much better.
that.
I wanted to help them be able to thrive, to get plugged into their new communities, and we need each other in
Yes,
order to thrive. And
yes.
so, really and truly, it was the why behind the journey that propelled me to get over whatever obstacles
Mhm.
that I might have perceived
Oh,
that would have been there. And it was actually not that hard to do once I got,
once you
just
got the hang of it.
yeah,
Right,
yeah, yeah,
right,
yeah,
right, right. Well, and to your point, you're putting yourself last and your audience or your why first. Like, the mission is the mission. Keep the mission, right?
right.
And when you put that ahead of any fears, that's really similar to how we help leaders become better speakers. It's like, well, if you're too nervous in front of a group, it's often because you're thinking too much about yourself and not being in service of your audience. And once you can make that flip of your switch in your brain to serving others, it's much easier to feel more relaxed and not, like everybody's eyes are boring into you, right? So, yeah, what a
Exactly.
totally valuable exercise, and 100 new people that you now have met, right?
Yes, and I stayed in touch
No,
with at the
that's
last count
incredible.
after 6 years, my last count, I was still in touch with 70 people.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool.
Yeah.
Well, if I could tap on tack on one tiny story to this, then I want to ask about, like, your own transition from military into what you're doing now. But it's just reminding me that when I was in Austin, I actually did the most scary, bold thing, which was walk up to a woman on the street, introduce myself, because, and now this is going to sound really weird, but she was wearing the same two colors of green that my whole book cover is, and I was so astonished with how she matched my book, and I was teaching spontaneity at a women's conference the next morning, and I did the same thing. I was like, "If I'm going to tell these women to be spontaneous, I should walk up to this woman and start up this conversation that's happening in my head." And I have a call with her next week, so I've done 1 out of my 100, Kimberly. Like, she was
You're walking the walk.
yeah, she was so excited that I had stopped her because she's like, "I love that you did this because I also teach other women and mentor other women to be courageous, and I'm so glad that you stopped me because blah, blah, blah." Yeah, but I'd never done that before, so I can see how it would get easier.
Actually, you did exactly what I did, is you're looking for things that speak to you, things that you have in common with somebody else. It's not as hard as it sounds.
Right, exactly. Okay, tell us a little about your military background and your transition from that into what you're doing now.
So, oh gosh, I was thinking about I actually I have to tell you, I just came back from a celebration of women being at the academies, the service academies for 50 years. I mean, it was 50 years ago.
Wow.
Coming up, yeah, the women were actually allowed at the academies. And so I was fortunate to be able to go to the Force Academy. And that totally changed my world,
Oh,
changed my whole trajectory in life,
yeah, of course.
stretched me
Oh,
in so many ways
sure.
and gave me so many opportunities.
Mm.
So that's how I ended up in the Air Force.
Mm,
And, as I think about my time in the Air Force, I got responsibility very, very early on.
sure.
Um,
Okay.
at 22, I negotiated my first $1 million contract.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
And this
incredible. For what? Like, can you share what that was linked to?
So it was research and development is what I was
Okay.
buying. So I was buying studies.
Right.
My office was attached to the labs at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
Okay.
And so I was doing
Wow.
research and development studies. And so,
Amazing.
yeah, I remember doing my first one. I was so proud of myself sitting
I
there at
would
the
be too. Like,
contract.
you're standing up a little taller that day, you know? I mean, meet 100 people in 100 days, easy, right? After closing $1 million contract at 22. That's so
Yeah.
great. Oh, that's
Yeah,
so great.
so I got that wonderful opportunity, and then it was, because I was known in my organization when the head of or the deputy director of my, we call him system program office, when he moved to the F-15E SPO, and he needed a buyer, he thought of me, he knew the work that I did and brought me over to the F-15E SPO, and then I actually got to be the buyer on the F-15E.
Oh,
So that was
wow.
an amazing
Oh my
opportunity.
gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was still very young, right? Like
Mhm.
24, 25 at this point in
Right.
time.
Right. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
That's just
and I didn't realize the significance at the time,
right.
um,
Right.
but I realized it pretty quickly,
Mhm. Well,
after
it's
that.
like you said, a very unique situation to be able to do such big things so at such a young age. I mean, they really want to get you going quickly toward these, you know, I guess building habits of discipline and strategic thinking. And what do you attribute that to, Kimberly? Like, why wouldn't they just put everybody who comes into the military through 4 years of planning and thinking and learning before they have more of that decision making to do? What do you make of that?
Well, I mean, I will say having gone to the academy, that was a leadership lab, so I did get a
Okay.
chance to learn a lot of that, but I came in as an officer, and when you
Mhm.
come in as an officer, you've got some leadership training, and you're
Okay.
expected to lead, and so, like, yeah, I think officers very early on, in the Army in particular, they're leading troops right
Mhm.
away, right?
Wow. Yeah.
So you do get opportunities. Not everybody, but a lot of people do get opportunities and responsibility. We're entrusted with that.
Yeah.
And so we of course have leaders over us. So it's not like they
Mhm.
just, turn
Mhm.
you loose.
Sure, sure.
Um,
Of course.
but
But it's
yeah,
a lot of high stakes things pretty early for someone in their lives, right? Especially if it's related to life and death situations, depending on
yeah.
where you are. So, well, Kimberly, thank you for your service to our country and for
Oh,
all the
you're worth
people
it.
you have trained and that you have led. And my grandfather was in World War II, and my uncle was in Vietnam, and everyone listening, I'm sure, can think of someone that they have um, known or are related to who have served, and it's just it's a beautiful thing. So thank you.
Oh, it's a privilege and honor to be able
Yeah.
to do that. I really believe so.
I can imagine. Well, let's move to your Compassionate Success book and tell us a little about why you decided to write it.
So I really decided to write this book because, I have a young men, right?
Mhm.
My children are grown. And I was noticing that one of the things that my son, when he would talk about work, the things that frustrated him the most was his boss or bosses or things that he saw in terms of, the things that he was sharing was a lack of leadership, actually, some of the things that
Mhm.
I saw. And then I've also been privileged to lead in the National Speakers Association, and
Amazing.
so have had opportunities to mentor other chapter presidents. And one of the things that I took for granted was some of the leadership things that I learned, not only at the academy, but then I actually saw, I've seen great leadership in
Mhm.
my working career, and I've seen some leadership that wasn't so great.
Right. Right.
So I think what really led me to want to write this book was there's some fundamental things about leadership that I take for granted that
Mhm.
is not common knowledge or at least
Right.
isn't emphasized. And
Okay.
so,
Yeah, love that. Well, and culture building, as you talk a lot about, and it's very important to create this system of respect and of compassion. And that's a uh, that's a touchy-feely word, Kimberly, but it's so critical to the success of an organization, whether it's a family or a business or whatever it might be. So, how What was that a word you really wrestled over picking, or did it come right to you, that word compassionate?
So it's interesting. So I always think, more two heads are better than one, and
Of course.
people are so important, right? So actually, my husband and I were out going to a friend's wedding and staying with another friend, actually, and I was sharing a story about one of my mentors and how she worked with me and then kicked me out of the nest before I was ready to go,
Yeah.
and so I was just sharing that story of how I was doing some of the work that I was doing with some friends of ours. And they started, I started talking about this idea of this mentorship and leadership, because that's really what she was, helping me with. She
Mhm.
was leading me, and she saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, which is a
Oh,
lot of
yeah.
what leaders, we need to see what other
Yes.
people can't see in themselves.
Mhm.
And so we were just having a conversation, and as I was talking about this idea and what my husband and I had talked about in terms of, a book on leadership, they were really the ones that we started like just playing around with. What does that mean to be successful, and to have success without running with scissors, right? There
Right.
are people out there
Nice.
that
Yes.
they're just going,
Yeah.
and they're
Yeah.
looking at the end goal, but they're hurting people
Yeah.
along the
Right.
way,
Right.
right?
Right.
So how do we have success but not run past the people, run over the
Mhm.
people? Um,
Right. It's like a difference. It's the difference between a boss and a leader,
yeah,
right? Where it's just not so dictatorial or just, order taking, but it's really seeing beyond that into the person and thinking through, like you said earlier. And we've done a lot of, I have stories, you have stories. A lot of people bring stories about someone else who saw something in them they didn't see in themselves. And you have to see it and say it, right? You have to see it and then you have to tell the person that you see it and encourage them to take those steps to do whatever you think that they can do. And I have a couple very specific examples of that, and I'm sure you do too. And it's a really great opportunity for our listeners right now to think about maybe someone in your orbit right now that you are working with that you have not yet said, I don't know if you know this about yourself, but you are really good at blank, blank, blank. And not a lot of people are who are in your shoes. That can change a person's day, career trajectory. It can make them feel so uniquely valued in a way
yeah.
they couldn't know otherwise. So I think that's such a beautiful thread from the book. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yes, people rise to the level of
Yeah.
expectation, right?
Yep, yep, exactly. I think, well, let's talk about the lights system that we kind of use on the podcast here. Like red lights are risky things that people bump into when they're on the journey toward whatever. In this case, better, more compassionate leadership. And then kind of those green light moments or behaviors. So it sounds like some of the red light risky things that people are afraid of is maybe deepening their relationship with others because it could be too smushy. I don't know. What are some of the red lights that your leaders and your clients see, Kimberly, that might prevent them from wanting to go the extra steps into compassionate success and leadership?
Yeah, so I think a lot of times, uh, first of all, leaders are in the people business. And so we just
Right.
need to understand that, right? As
Right.
leaders, that's regardless of what the industry is,
Yep.
what the product or whatever, we're in the people business.
Yep.
And I think sometimes people get intimidated
Yeah.
actually by others around them that are capable.
Mhm.
And I think great leaders are going to surround themselves with very capable people, people that
Right.
are skilled in ways that they aren't skilled, and
Right.
not be intimidated by that.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
I think that's probably one of the biggest
Yep.
areas. I think people get intimidated and they think, oh, I
Mhm.
have to know all the answers. But as a leader, you don't have to. Thank goodness, we don't
Mhm.
have to know all the
Right.
answers, right?
Right. Lead with curiosity instead of that fear-based, sense that you might be called out or look bad if you don't know all the answers. I mean, we all have that happen from time to time. So it's understandable. It's just a matter of getting past it. So, yep, that's a great
And I
example.
think people really respect you even more when you say, you know what, I don't have the answer to that. Let me
Right.
get back with you.
Right, right. I remember one of my first leaders or bosses that I worked with many moons ago, 20 years ago or so, she always, I'm sure you've heard this too, but hire people who are smarter than you, because then you're really going to continue to grow personally and professionally. And there's real value in doing that, or at least feeling that you're doing that, so that you're not feeling the need to be like top dog all the time either, right? Like bring in other perspectives, bring in other points of view, and other personality and leadership styles makes a difference too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm putting together a team right now for a large effort, and that's one of my goals. It's like I told people, I said, I'm looking for people that are, go getters. I'm looking for people that have skills that I don't have.
Yeah,
I'm being very selective of who
yeah,
I put on my team because this
right.
is actually a volunteer team, and especially when you're working
Mm.
with volunteers,
Oh yeah.
you can have a lot of other things going on. Yeah,
Yes.
so I'm
Yeah.
looking for people that have complementary skills. I'm looking for people that can see where if I have a blind spot, that they're going to
Yeah.
have the courage to say, "Hey, have you thought about this?" Right?
Yeah.
And
Right.
so,
Right.
yeah, I think I'm going to have a great team
Yeah.
because I know that I don't know everything.
Right, exactly, and they want to be there because, that that's a conversation that's already been had, instead of, volunteer teams are tricky in their own right. I mean, we've all been volunteers, and, but when you get the right mix, it can really make magic happen. So I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question about the mentor, the mentor, someone you've looked looked at in your past who's really guided your path in a certain way. You've written about some of them, you've talked about some of them. Who's coming to mind right now as far as like, if I could just give a hat tip to that one man or woman who's really guided me in this specific way, who would that be in your world?
Yeah, that is such a hard question. And I guess,
Yeah.
I mean, because I've been blessed with a lot of
Yeah.
great mentors.
Sure.
I think probably one of the first ones early on is Dr. Carl Bryant and his wife, Valerie.
Okay.
They were actually my sponsors at the Air Force Academy.
Okay.
And so at a time when I really needed that support,
Mm-hmm.
they were there. He was actually in the counseling department. And
Okay.
so he had a lot of wisdom, right?
Sure.
Just
Sure.
life wisdom. And he's a leader in his own right.
Mm-hmm.
So he's held some very high level positions. And he's still a mentor of mine today,
Love it.
actually. So,
I
yeah,
love
so
that.
I would have to say,
Yeah. Was that somebody who found something in you that you didn't see in yourself, sort of a thing? Or was he an encourager, all of the above?
I would say all of the above. Yes, I would definitely say all of the above because so I met him actually through my father had a friend who knew him.
Oh,
So there
wow.
was some
Okay.
connections, right?
Yeah.
And when I was going
Sure.
out to the academy, they made that connection. And so he and his wife at the academy, they'll we have sponsors like your first year. And so I think in those early years, he was there as support and also just somebody who was already out in the working world, already in the Air Force, a lot further along. So he was able to share wisdom with me and be a support because I really needed. He and his wife were
Yeah.
really great support. As
Uh,
things have evolved,
mhm.
though, it's really interesting because he's called out things that he has seen in me that I
Oh,
didn't see in
oh,
myself.
I love that. Yeah. Well,
Yes.
then he's earning his keep as your continued mentor. No, I love that.
And dear friend now, and dear
Yeah,
friend.
of course, of course.
Yeah.
Well, Kimberly, I'm thinking about the work you do with military leaders and bringing, folks out of military and into civilian life, for lack of a better phrase. And I'll just share an example, and then or that's coming to my mind. But I want to know kind of what people share with you by the time you're finished working with them when they've been in that, like, that's a really big switch from what I understand, and the little bit of understanding I do have is one of my very close friends, her husband was an Air Force pilot for 20 years and now flies commercial, okay? And so he said, and he's one of the most humble, wonderful, beautiful people on the planet, and no ego, nothing. But he said, it is different when you used to walk in as the highest ranking officer to any room that you'd go into, and every single person in the room stands and salutes you every single time you go anywhere. And now here we are at the bottom of the barrel, climbing our way up in the commercial pilot industry just like everybody else, and it's such a massive shift for the families, for the parent who's working, who's making the professional shift. Is that similar to some of the help that you walk with people through, or can you speak to the value of what you've been able to bring folks who are making that transition, because it's really important.
It is an important transition, whether you've been in for 4 years or 8 years. The folks I work with usually have been in for 20 to 30 years, so
Yeah,
similar to,
yeah.
your friend. And it is a whole different environment. However, a lot of the things that they've done to be success there are gonna also help them be success in the civilian world, and my encouragement to them is you're not starting over, you're not starting at the bottom. You've brought all of this knowledge
Yeah.
and wealth of experience, and now you're shifting in a different direction. It's the
Okay.
same as somebody coming fro all organizations have a company culture, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yep.
when you shift from one company to the next,
Mhm.
you are bringing all your knowledge, you're going into a different culture and a different environment. And granted, the military culture is a big shift. And
Mhm.
so I do acknowledge that. But my
Sure.
encouragement to them is you have a lot of the skills that private industry desperately needs
For sure.
leadership.
Absolutely.
That leadership piece being key, right?
Yep.
That is
Yep. Yep.
definitely transferable.
Yeah.
So I walk with them and along just the mind shift
Mhm.
along those lines. And then also, one of their biggest challenges is getting plugged into a new community
Okay. Yeah, that
because
makes a lot of sense.
they've been in that military community.
Yes.
And now it's like, how do I make my way in an environment where, um, the culture is a little bit
Right?
different? If they're moving to like a new location, they don't know anybody, right? So how do you
Yes.
get plugged in? And
Yes.
so I walk along them with that, and really just um, help them understand the environment that they're walking into,
Mhm. Yep.
and I draw the parallels,
Yeah.
and I also talk about the differences so that they're prepared for some of those differences.
Yeah. You sound like a qualified, compassionate success Sherpa. That's what you sound like. Well, that's just got to be so valuable for those individuals who listen to you in the audiences of your keynotes, who work with you in your workshops, and who take with you, what would Kimberly do? What would Kimberly say in this moment? That's a lot of times when you feel that the lessons have continued to live on, right? No matter how long it might have been since you last spoke to that person or whatnot. But it's really valuable to help that individual or that group to make that transition. So yeah, I can imagine you are a fan favorite. So
Well, it is rewarding, and it's
yeah,
what really spawned all the other work that I do,
right.
because I realized that there are a lot of people that are moving, changing jobs, they're moving locations. They need to get plugged into their new
Hmm.
community,
For
right?
sure.
They
Yep,
that a lot of the skills that they have, and um, so it's really informed a lot of the work that I do
for
out in
sure.
private industry, helping
Hmm.
folks. That's just
Yeah.
my heart is to help
Yeah.
people do that well.
Well, you have like a book duo now. Like both of those books are, left hand, right hand kind of a thing for people because of the networking and the community building plus the compassionate success piece. And that's just a winning combination. It sounds just fantastic. I love it. Well,
Oh, well,
before I
thank
get to the last question, which is like, where do people find you, Kimberly? My second to last question is, what is coming up for you as you look ahead in the next 12 months? What do you either for your personally or your business, or kind of what are you seeing in the tea leaves, if you will, of industry that, that gets you excited? What's happening coming up?
Well, I'm really excited about being able to help leaders lead better. I'm getting ready to embark on, I have a team, and we're going to be really helping a lot of leaders lead their organizations a lot better in this volunteer capacity that I'm
Okay.
that I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited about that, because
Okay.
the way I look at it is when you're in leadership, it's a we get to, it's not a we
Yeah.
have to.
Right. Right.
whether it's in volunteer or actually in an organization, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we have a lot of impact to the lives of others. And
Mhm.
so helping people do that in a way that's authentic, but also in a way that they can inspire those that they're over. I'm really excited about that. And yeah, just excited about. So who read my book told me that it was really impactful for them. And so to hear that kind of
Yes.
feedback in terms of helping others in their leadership journey, that really just that's very exciting for
I
me.
love that. Well,
Yeah.
you'll have to keep us posted on the volunteer effort and how things are moving forward for you on that front. And it sounds like an exciting journey that we wish you the best for. That sounds
Well,
awesome.
thanks, Cindy. You do a lot of that work yourself as you're helping others do their presentations better because when they're on the stages or
Yeah.
in front of the audiences, they are the leaders. And so
Yes.
you're helping people, help others in that way too. So I'm excited about the work that
Yes.
you do
Thank
and you've
you.
been doing. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Yep, it's about leading with story, right? Like, how are
Mhm.
you going to pick those strategic stories and not be so you teach compassionate success, and I think there's the flavor of that I would say we do is around like not being afraid to talk about how like what you find that you are passionate about and bringing some of you and your soul and your love of whatever it is into your business presentations is completely on the table and welcome by audiences. And so that's one of the joys that we get to experience with people. It's like, oh, I never knew if I told a little story about this, that, or the other, that it would land and that it would be a credibility builder instead of a killer. So yeah,
Yeah. It makes them relatable.
exactly.
People love that. Yeah.
Yeah. Authentic, vulnerable, all the things AI cannot be, right? So I love it. I love it. Kimberly, this was so much fun. Tell us where we can find you and where we can learn more about your book and your work.
Thank you. So you can find me at KymberliSpeight.com. So my name is spelled a little bit differently. So just
Mhm,
with the spelling. And then my books can be found on Amazon.
mhm.
So people can
Yeah.
find it very easily there. So
Well, we are excited to share this episode far and wide. Yes, to spell Kimberly, you just switch the Y and the I. It's Kymberli,
you
right?
got it.
Yeah. Nailed it. Awesome. Thank you so
Nailed it.
much, Kimberly. It's so wonderful to have had you on the show today. Keep going out there and doing amazing things. And again, thank you for your service to our country.
Thank you, Cindy. It's been a pleasure to be here
Yeah.
with you. And I appreciate
Likewise.
the relationship that we
Yeah,
have.
I know. Likewise. I know. I'm inspired to go meet more people that I don't know yet, just randomly. Oh, thanks everybody for listening. It's been wonderful to have you join us in studio today. Don't forget to hit like and share and let others know what we're doing here on the Red Light, Green Light podcast. And of course, if you're heading out to see an audience and try to get them from the red light of risk to the green light of go, don't forget to build your storyline with our how-to model and grab our book at Amazon. Have a great day, everybody. We'll talk to you with our next episode very soon. Bye-bye.